this week, we're going to go to the MAC. Yeah, that's right. We got a smelly game where an undefeated Western Michigan team, undefeated in conference, Western Michigan, very important distinction right there, losses to Ohio State and I believe Marshall.
And
They're
Wisconsin.
in Wisconsin. They're favored. Sorry, home underdogs by 1.5 points to the NIU Huskies.
Who are 1-3 in conference too.
Yeah,
After a big win against Notre Dame, they fall up. They lay a couple stinkers in conference. Now, some of it was due to back quarterback play. Some of it was to just maybe not having the right quarterback out there. And a couple weeks ago against Ball State, but regardless, it's been I think disappointing season. There were high expectations coming into the year for NIU, especially after the big Notre Dame win, top 5 win, against Notre Dame there, and then you followed up, and maybe you're kind of out of the MAC standings, but you still have a lot to play for. You got bowl games. You can, beat a Western Michigan team and put them down in the conference rankings. I still think this game super, super important. It's November, right? So we started the action. We love this.
Yeah, I mean, now look at these two teams, and they literally couldn't be more different. All right. You got a team in Northern Illinois that down to down on the defensive side of the football is incredibly consistent, with the exception of a couple explosive plays in some certain games, but they don't rely on turnovers. All right. Down to down, they're really good at getting off the field on third down. They're really good at stopping the run. And their secondary has done a really good job limiting the passing attack. It's why they're partially so good on third down. It really, defensively, you don't look at this team, you're like, well, there's a significant hole at this spot. They've just gotten some games in their offense has struggled, putting the ball in the air. They've struggled with turnovers, the bouncing of the football, 7 fumbles on the year. Not very good. Not very good. So I'm looking at this game, and you're looking at a Western Michigan team that running the football. They have been incredible doing that just about all season. Defensively, though, Western Michigan has been, a wet paper napkin. They have just let stuff go by over and over consistently against bad football teams. Bad football teams have been able to score on Western Michigan, but in the MAC, Western Michigan has been able to outscore said opponents. So when I'm looking at down and down consistency, I like Illinois, for the down to down consistency, but you're also having them go on the road, a team 1-3 in conference, having them go on the road, to a team that's, found ways to win football games. I've had a tough time picking, who I wanted to pick in this game. Right? And you got, feels like, 2 very, very different football teams. And I can't wait to see them clash.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I want to highlight a couple of those matchups that you brought up. NIU stopping the run, like you said, best team in the MAC. And then Western Michigan, their bread and butter is running the football. With those running backs, they got a stable of them that are playing really good football, Nixon, Buckley, et cetera, et cetera. And, man, it's going to be really fun there, the trenches. Also, you brought up the turnover differences for each of these teams. NIU is -7 in the turnover differential, while Western Michigan is +7. That is a 14 turnover difference between these two teams. To me, I think Ethan Hampton comes back in, right? I think he plays clean football for MAC standards, right? As much as you could get in the action, midweek action. I think he plays clean football. I think NIU sticks to running the football, which Western Michigan has been middle of the pack to bottom of the pack in their defense this year, like you said. I think NIU gets another huge win. And this is massive for them. I think Thomas Hammock and the crew there. It's just a bad matchup for Western Michigan. Not that they're frauds at all. I think Western Michigan, they still have a lot of goals ahead of them. They still play a pretty tough schedule, right? The rest of the way, obviously, Northern Illinois this week at home, but then you go to Bowling Green and you finish up the year with Eastern Michigan there, Thanksgiving weekend, rivalry weekend. So it's, yeah, I don't think it's easier for them. And I think a win here would be huge in terms of distancing themselves, giving them some kind of leeway, to be able to compete and be in those top 2 spots for the MAC championship, come December. But I think NIU gets a win here, -1.5. I actually feel pretty good about it. Hint, hint, maybe stick around for our best bets at the counter.
Yeah, I'm going to ride this with you in terms of the picks. Don't feel good about, I'm not comfortable with like physically betting on action games. I mean, I did bet Toledo in 2 separate instances, and I bet on Central Michigan and others. I'm 1-2 when I'm betting on the MAC this year. right? So I'm staying away from betting on it this time around. But I'm with you. I think down to down consistency is important in this situation. I mean, Buffalo had 550 total yards against Western Michigan just a couple weeks ago, right? And if Northern Illinois continues to have success stopping the football and just taking care of the football, man, just taking care of the football. There's a reason that Northern Illinois is favored in this football game. I don't blame you at all for liking this as part of your best bet slate. I think Northern Illinois is, one, more talented. I think two, I think they're actually better coached, and turnovers, at least fumbles, is pretty luck dependent. I know you've thrown some interceptions, but you haven't even thrown that many interceptions, like 6 interceptions. Turnover margin, I think, is a big deal in terms of why they've lost some of those close football games. And like a team like Buffalo, which has done a significantly great job, on special teams with Pete Lembo, and as well as, in that turnover margin, who is a big beamer ball guy, Pete Lembo is, and knows how to win games in the MAC with lesser talent. I'm not going to hold those losses against Illinois. I think Western Michigan can absolutely win this football game with some of the players, some of the stars, the weapons on this offense, and their rushing attack. I just think Northern Illinois gets it done. I'm with you.
Last thing here, key statistic here, NIU is the best in the MAC at converting third downs at a 43.9% clip. To me, that is huge in this game, stopping a high-flying offense or one that is consistent in running the football, because you sustain drives, you kind of rope together drives where you have long drives, you have scoring drives, and you put Western Michigan behind the 8 ball in spots where they do not want to be, having to throw the football and play catch up. That is huge. I think NIU, that's their key to this game. Stop the run early, convert on third down, long sustaining drives, take care of the football, and you get it. You go into Kalamazoo and you get a win. Big one.
Yeah, and Western Michigan's been terrible on third down all year. They've relied on explosive plays, averaging 6.6 yards per play. I mean, if you're asking Western Michigan to put a long, sustained drive against Northern Illinois consistently, I don't know that they're going to do that. So we'll see. I'm really pumped for that game. And the outlook in the MAC, it's a big deal because Western Michigan is, like we talked about, undefeated in conference.
The only one.